Here we go, guys. This is Kinesiology 214, and we're talking about the initial consultation. The initial consultation is actually a pretty complex little series of events that all come together to help you in terms of building a relationship with your client. So let's jump right in. I won't waste any time with this. This is actually a pretty big presentation. So in the area of wellness, right, your job is to help people reach their goals. And so often these goals are nebulous, they're not really well defined. And part of what you have to do is be able to kind of take their goals, refine them, and give them focus so they can really give an idea of what it is they're trying to actually accomplish and what that process looks like. And you're kind of like an agent of change. You're basically a change management person for fitness for your client. And what you're doing on the very first steps is trying to really figure out what it is they want to do. And then you're helping provide guidance towards reaching their goals. So the initial consultation kind of serves on a couple fronts, right? First, can your client actually participate in a workout program? You'll have them fill out some questionnaires, et cetera, and they'll be able to participate or not. And then part of this is to be able to formulate goals and benchmark what it is they're trying to accomplish and keep them on track towards a much bigger picture down the road. Then also, this is relationship building 101, where you're in a relationship building business. I don't know if you know this or not, but when you go into this profession, you are in the movement profession. Yes, don't get me wrong, but you have to have a very strong relationship building set of skills. You have to be able to build that and connect with people. You're going to have trouble otherwise if you don't. So, you must be able to have a working relationship with your client or your patient to be able to experience long-term success. Even as a coach with a strength and conditioning coach with an athlete, you're going to be meeting with those people one-on-one in all three different main areas. You will meet with your client, your patient, or an athlete one-on-one to help them kind of refine their goals and benchmark and then offer perspective on what they need to do to achieve their goals. So for all three of them, you're going to have this relationship building skill set. Believe me, as a coach, I deliver content, I deliver coaching cues, I deliver feedback, and there has to be some trust, honesty, and communication. I have to be brutally honest with my athletes to let them know where they're doing something incorrectly so they can refine it to become a better athlete. It's how I deliver that matters. So there has to be the trust that I'm not there just berating them. There has to be some honesty from me to them and vice versa. And I have to be able to communicate correctly. So trust, honesty, communication, just like any relationship, it is a strong pillar in communication. The relationship building process actually begins before you sit down for the meet and greet at the table. And if I could just kind of encapsulate what it is you're getting yourself into, personal trainers and physical therapists are in the service-based kind of business, and it's a very short reoccurring sales cycle, and it's predicated on strong relationship building skills. So now here's the thing. You have a session with your client, you work out. If your client didn't like you, didn't like the session, don't like the results, they leave. You don't have the opportunity to have them come back again. And once they're gone, they're gone. So you must be able to show demonstrative results to a client while having this engaging environment and working with them, and it's encouraging and motivating. You're creating this camaraderie with them through the process to help them, we're in it together, reach their goals. So you got to understand that this short reoccurring sales cycle matters, because a person can buy a 12-pack of personal training sessions, but they don't have to do them all with you. They can work out with you once and say, I didn't like it too much, or this person doesn't know what they're talking about, and move on to another trainer. This is kind of key in the business, guys. You have to understand that you're constantly selling yourself so a person comes back. And so when you're with a client at the table, these are kind of the things that I want you to realize. I have like maybe 10, 15 of them that are kind of important, but these are the big five, right? Whoever it is sitting across from you because they've decided that today is their day. Despite the crappy reputation that health club sales has, membership sales has, where you're being drugged through a process, sold stuff you don't need. These people are going into a facility where everybody looks like they know what the heck they're doing, except for the person. Everybody's friendly with each other except with them. They know they're going to come in and get beat up during a sales process. Despite that, this person said, this is my day. Today is my day to make change. And that is usually brought upon by a triggering event. They couldn't get up the stairs without being winded. They couldn't run around on a soccer field with their kids. They said, I will marry you, and they have to get into a wedding dress. These are all kind of triggering events that are the things that you have to listen for and understand, because these are the emotional drivers that keep your clients working out, even on the days they don't want to come in. So they'll also sit there and they'll say they want to make change, I want to lose weight, but they might not understand what they need to do to make the behavioral change. And that's the important part, is that to have a physiological change, there has to be a behavioral change. But the underlying message that I want to get across to you is, with behavioral change, there's an emotional component. You are literally a change agent of fitness and wellness for that client. You're being brought in to make change. To make behavioral change, you're taking that client out of a very comfortable place called homeostasis. They are at baseline, they've done the same thing every day for the last 10, 15 years, and they're asking you to integrate in some changes. There's an emotional component to that, but that emotional component drives the behavioral component, and the behavioral drives the physiological, and you have to understand how those three all kind of work together. Now, they'll have an understanding of the end goal. They want to fit in that wedding dress, but they don't know the steps to get there, and you have to outline that and describe that to them. And this can't be discounted enough, and I have to really get this across to younger trainers in the initial stages. When you go in and go see your tax accountant, you believe implicitly in their ability to do your taxes. When a person sits across from you at that table and you're doing a consultation, they implicitly believe in your, and there's a business term for this, expert authority. You're an expert in that area, therefore you are an authority. And they're looking for you to be the authority in helping them make that change. So they want this expert authority and they expect it, but they also expect your skill set, your background, your abilities are in place and all lockstep to help them as well. So realize that the implied message here is that you're in control of the arrangement, you're in control of the relationship, and it's your job to build it and cultivate it. So the initial consultation actually starts during a phone call, or perhaps when a person sees you on the floor working with a client and they like what you're doing. And this is a little sidebar. If they like what you're doing on the floor, you have to realize when you're working with other clients, you're on display. Other people are watching you. So you can't be there working with your client, fiddling around with your phone, texting, maybe checking somebody out on another piece of equipment. You got to be on your game in the moment with that person, working with them, aware of your surroundings, of course, but you have to be on point, because that introduction itself might come from a person approaching you because they really liked what you were doing with another client on the floor and how you were engaging with them, etc. So the actual first phone call is where the relationship building starts, right? And you set expectations. We're going to have you do a PAR-Q or a health history questionnaire. And then from there, when we get together, we're going to meet. We're going to kind of dig into your goals. We're going to talk about a timeline, some accountability, how much this thing is going to cost and what it's going to look like. And this is really the time for you to, put the relationship on the correct course and take control of the situation. Remember, you're the authority and you were hired to be that person. And so they are hiring you for this role. Own that role, hold them accountable, help them reach their goals in the process of doing this. And, you have to have this ability. You have to have the ability to skillfully ask questions and listen. You have to have the ability to ask open-ended questions, more importantly, and listen, and have closed-end yes or no questions to take control of a conversation. It's a skill. It's an art. There's no doubt about it. It takes practice, but it'll be part of the role playing we have to do in class. So it's through this kind of give and take between open and closed end questioning you're able to actually kind of help your client visualize this goal and make it almost tangible. And it really helps to set the expectation of what you're going to bring to the table for them. Now, when hiring a trainer, you do have some conflicts, right? Usually there's three of them. When the heck they want to work out, if they want a male or a female trainer, and what the specialty is. If it's male or female, there's not a dang thing you can do about it. If it's like a scheduling issue where you train in the mornings and they want 8 o'clock at night, you can't work with them. There's just no way. The other stuff, in terms of specialization, as you get better and better and better, you won't be so narrowly focused. You'll have different things you can delve into. But those are usually the main three conflicts of interest. And once you clear that hurdle, that first conversation that I have with people, it opens the door to everything else. It's like the first yes in the conversation. And these are common statements that I'll make. Okay, when we meet in person, the time will be partially meet and greet, partially show and tell, and partially workout. And when we work out, I tend to undershoot on the workouts. The goal is not to have it where like I'm beating you into a gang by doing a super aggressive workout. That's just foolish. You've not worked out in 8 years. I'm not going to beat the snot out of you. Now, you're going to be sore the next day, no matter what we do. So to that end, that's another reason why I undershoot. But after 3 weeks or so, you'll look back at your very first workout and say, wow, I'm blowing that thing out of the water. Holy cow. And after 3 weeks, you'll start to notice a difference, whether it's in your ability to do work or kind of how you feel, kind of how you're carrying yourself, maybe how you're sitting at work or feel at the end of the day. After about 4 weeks, maybe 5 to 6, other people will notice. Usually a significant other will be like, oh, you're working out, looking pretty good. And then, like 12 weeks from now, when you're on that beach, you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself. So what I try to do is project them out to different benchmark stages of 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 12 weeks for their end goal. And I try to project that in terms of here's how this is going to map out over the next couple of weeks, but also sets expectation that we're going to be together over the next couple of weeks. And again, having a reoccurring sales cycle, that expectation is already in place. And facility usually sets pricing. The more you buy, the more you save, like anything. It's usually about 70, 80 bucks a session. And that enters into the value proposition I always like to get into. And this is a sizable investment you're making in yourself, not only financially, but physically and emotionally and time. You're going to be here for a couple hours every week working out. You're making this investment in yourself by bringing me on board. Now, at more than $1 a minute, believe me, I am not going to be wasting your time nor your money. And that's kind of good news, bad news for you. Once we get going here for the first couple of weeks, you're going to be moving the entire time you're in here. It's going to be very little downtime. We'll talk a lot in the first session, but afterwards, it's going to be more work than talk, believe me. And that's just how I train people. I keep people moving. And I like to keep people moving the entire time they're in here. Oh my God, please don't call or don't do a no call, no show. You're charged for your session, whether you show up or not. I want you to use those sessions. I'm a guy that doesn't like getting paid for standing around. I like to work with my people. And I will tell you this, there will be a dark, cold night and it's snowing out and you're going to send me a text and it's going to read as you want to cancel. And part of the reason why you hired me is to hold you accountable. I'm telling you, when you send me that text that says I need to cancel, I'm going to send you back 2 words. One of them is going to be wedding, the other one's going to be dress, and you know what? You're going to come in, and that is part of our arrangement, and I'm going to hold you accountable, even on those days that you want to cancel. So you can fully expect that as part of this relationship, you're going to get that kind of feedback from me. So in the initial consultation, too, the other part of this, you use that time to determine what the motivation was for bringing them in. What is the why? It's the fitting into the wedding dress or the being able to run up and down the soccer field, but also there's a psychological and emotional driver that sometimes you have to dig into, but you want to dig gently because there might be some like emotional triggers in there you don't want to trigger. And really what you're after is trying to get a handle on what's making this person tick and why they're there. I want to do this and I want to be there for my daughter for soccer and she's really skilled and I want to be there for like high school and college. And my doctor told me I'm not feeling too good. And I'll tell you, people come in and are usually running towards something like a wedding dress, or they want to run towards something like they're going to compete in an event, or they're running away from something like a bad report at the doctor. So you have to be able to figure that out and differentiate those two. But they provide a framework, right, for goal setting and establishing the levers that you need to help motivate your client towards your goals. So with that, guys, I'm going to break off here and I'm going to jump into the next presentation, which is what is the why, what's the motivation, and goal setting. With that, signing off, guys. Have a good one.